Welcome to the Evolution Partners podcast, where I talk with the world's leading thinkers, planners and doers who are helping to build great companies in their own way. We learn how the work they're doing is creating an impact and get to know a little bit more about them and what makes them tick. This episode is brought to you by Evolution Partners, where we help leaders to confidently build enduring great companies using our proven structured strategic planning process that ensures you build and execute the right plan. Check us out at evolutionpartners.com.au. Also, you can check out our books, Made to Thrive, outlining how to be a great CEO, as well as Onboarded, which is about making your new hires more effective faster. Cléo Maheux is a Montreal-based entrepreneur, author, and has been a business coach for the past 15 years, impacting more than 500 entrepreneurs. She's been awarded the rare distinction of Coach Emeritus by Gazelles International, and through her publishing company owns the rights to the French-speaking versions of Scaling Up by Vern Harnish, Your Oxygen Mask First by Kevin Lawrence, and The Leader in Us by Warren Rustand. Her big, hairy, audacious goal is to create entrepreneurial wealth in the French-speaking world and have a real and concrete impact on more than 100,000 entrepreneurs by 2025. You can find Cléo at hypercroissants.com. Cléo, what I see in you is someone who believes in people, and you believe that people are perhaps capable of more than they suspect. The message I take from what I see in the work that you're doing is that it's really important to you that leaders humanize the journey of business growth, which is fascinating because your background is chemical engineering and microbiology, maybe more science and process areas that aren't known for their deep humanity. If that all resonates with you, tell us, Cléo, how did you come to be in this place?
Thank you very much. I'm really happy to be with you, Brad. I had such an honor because I listen to all your podcasts and I love what you do. And to be part of this journey, as a coach, we come from different backgrounds. And yes, I have, a scientist background, but I will say that this helped me a lot going through, understanding well the human side and be able to develop the human capabilities to scale up their business. But also, through my journey, I've been through last year this breast cancer, and I have this reality check with my health because I was, so into my job and loving what I want, what I love to do and helping people. But I realized that I really need to take care of myself. And at the end, this cancer was a gift. And I feel today that I'm a better coach, more grounded, connected, able to challenge in the right way with entrepreneurs and leaders that want to grow.
So you were already a really successful and well-established coach, again, for 15 years. And then you've just mentioned to us you've had this health scare with breast cancer. That must have shaken you to the core, I'm sure. But then you've come out with a new, I'm going to mess this up completely. Joie de vivre, joy of life. How do you say it in French?
Yes. Joie de vivre, yes.
It was very bad. It's very bad on my part. But you've come out with a new joy of life afterwards and a new direction and vision in your business. So maybe you could just tell us a bit more about that.
Yes, of course. And one thing, that I want to mention is, sometimes it's difficult to stop when we are too much too passionate about what we are doing. And it was a bit my reality before, I was like, yes, I want to grow. I want to help people. But now I will say that through that journey of of breast cancer, I will say that cancer was a gift, like I said. But today, I really want to do, I will say that this journey and this challenge in my life accelerate the thing that I really want to do before. So I will say that to your audience today, if you really want something and you know that you want something, don't wait to be sick to do something, so just do it right now. And that's mainly, the key message that I want to say, to all the people, because it's good to grow and we want to become better, but we have to become the best version of ourselves. And that, with all the book that you have wrote. And this is where I think it's really important to understand who we are, but to have a narrow focus on who we really want to become. Push that. Don't wait to be sick to take that call and decision.
It's not funny. That's ironic in a way. I use something similar with clients when it comes to cash, because many people look, cash is not. It's a bad thing to draw out of breast cancer and challenging one's life existence, right? But it's human nature to wait until we have a crisis of any sort before we actually take action.
Yeah.
And that's your message in terms of living and health and being happy. And so the point that I make before is. I will say to people, don't wait until you have a cash crisis before you fix your cash problems. Don't wait until you can see the edge of the cliff of your business. Yeah. Take action, build liquidity, build a better business model, do all the things that you can do. So we've got to try to understand that this is human nature, perhaps, to wait for the crisis. And only once we've survived the crisis do we actually go there again. I mean, it sounds like this has affected you at every level. We were speaking before the podcast and you were saying you went on a holiday with some friends and that you're just enjoying every moment of life so much more now.
Yeah, that's the reality. And if I had a chance to interview Arthur Brooks, who wrote the book, Build the Life You Want, 1 month ago in Montreal. And I think he's right. When you talk about, all the happiness, it's kind of a trend word. Oh, we need to be happy, but it's part of enjoyment, satisfaction, and meaning. So, and satisfaction, for sure, we need to have a little bit of pain and work hard to have satisfaction. And this is where I think that when we are close to the cliff or something like that, it's because, we if we go through that pain, after that we have the satisfaction. So it's not that we want to live, in a world of unicorn and everything is perfect, but I would say that maybe it's the maximum of and the minimum of that we need to challenge. And I'm sure with the client, we take the example of cash flow. It's always the contract or the products or the one thing that they do that cross the line and they put them in difficulty. But when they come out from that, they are happier. But why you have to go always there and stress your body and family and everything,
Yeah. Have you read the book by Clayton Christensen, How You Measure Your Life?
No, I didn't. But I read a lot of books on that.
Yeah, I bet. Well, without giving away the subtitle or the plot, I guess, it's about helping other people. It builds up. It kind of, because Clayton Christensen was a famous professor who wrote many great books, including The Dilemma. Excuse me, The Innovator's Dilemma, and The Jobs to Be Done Principle, and a lot of other things. Fantastic. He used a business framework to talk about how to measure your life, what life means, the reward that you can get, and ultimately it came to the end helping people to become better in whatever form it suits you. is really perhaps not the meaning of life, but pretty close to it. And he wrote that as he was dying of cancer, I think, himself. So it was he started before and then got sick and then needed to finish it before he died.
Okay.
So maybe thank you for sharing, first of all. And so I guess, how has that changed the way that you work, the way that that whole life experience, the way that you deal with the entrepreneurs that you coach and work with, and the way that you help them perhaps on a day-to-day basis? How has it changed your work?
So what I realize is we can go through difficult moment alone. So we feel really often lonely at the top. We all know that. So the way I approach it is I was doing, one-on-one coaching, coaching client, go and see one client at a time, and doing strategic retreat, quarterly meeting and everything. But I was a little bit bored of this because I was feeling that I don't have any huge impact. I want to have a huge impact on the people.
Yeah. And
I realized that, to the people that have access to me has to pay a lot of money. So I was like, okay, but it's only, a certain niche of people. And I want to have a bigger impact. So this is where I was looking, even before the pandemic and my cancer. I was, on the journey of the online training.
Yep.
So I start, my Kajabi platform and put online because, I did all this translation of all these 3 books. I put the French training on that platform to help entrepreneur. And I realized, okay, now I have the online training, but I need to connect with people. So I start a boot camp. But I realized that the boot camp was too expensive. So next week, I'm going to do a challenge. So I really try to, it's not a word that exists, but I name it in French. It's called, I try to productify my coaching offer.
Yep.
To have a bigger impact and be able to realize, my BHAG, my big, hairy, audacious goal. So I have now this kind of like funnel, I would say. I have my own podcast. I have my book. I have my online training. I have the challenge. It's free. I have 500 people for 1 week, 45 minutes a day. During 1 week to give them, a big hooply-doo, and they want to implement tools, the next morning, like a bib boom as a challenge. And after that, I'm going to do the boot camp. It's more training. And after I have the mastermind, it's a group of entrepreneurs. And here in Quebec, we don't have a lot of group of entrepreneurs with their team, their executive team. We have a lot of EO organization, YPO organization, but we don't have, this organization where you can be with your team and other group to create collective intelligence. And that was, the trend that I saw. We need to put people together to connect. And when the people, for example, in sales has the chance to talk to 12 other sales representative or director of other companies. So that was the main mindset, to productify my offer and put the people together to create collective intelligence.
Yeah, we've been running a group program for several years, and it can be very beneficial. I've never heard the phrase hooply-doo before, but I love it.
Hooply-doo.
I did a program with EO in Boston, and there was a guy called Jeff Calibaba who was I guess leading the program. He was an entrepreneur himself, from Canada, from Calgary, I think, and he didn't use the phrase productify, but he was a big, strong believer in that business model, and his business was taking heart resuscitation equipment. Do you know you go to a public space and they've got those defibrillators on the walls? So he sold defibrillators, which is a product, but he turned it into a service. So he said, if you sell primarily products, you got to find a way to turn it into a service. And if you sell primarily services, you got to find a way to turn it into a product. And so he trained all of the councils and all of the government people and the bureaucrats on how to use that, selling this training program. And of course, then they wanted to use the equipment that they've been trained on, and it gave them an advantage as well. So in the market. So yeah, productify. I'll take it as a word, and I love what you're doing with that. So through these boot camps, you've met a lot of entrepreneurs, and through your coaching over the years, as you've also taken a lot of the work, as you said, through translating these books and taking this into the French-speaking world. So with all of the entrepreneurs that you've met over this time, where do you see them getting stuck?
I'm sure it's the same thing around the world. It's the people part. You know, they stuck to take the right decision, to surround themselves with the great people. Sometimes they have a lack of courage, they have emotional relationship with some people, they are not able to take the hard decisions. But when they do, and they come up, you know, out from that stuck and that big challenge, this is where I can see, you know, fulfillment and grow, real grow. Yeah.
Why do you think they get stuck?
Does it make sense?
Yeah. It's my life every day.
So we are at the same place, right?
Yeah. Well, so I'm working on a new book at the moment, and rule number one, it's not about rules, but there's 500,000 ideas that go into write a book, and then you filter it out to be about 30. But one of those ideas is that rule number one in business is that you've got to survive. Rule number two is that you've got to assemble a team of people who can help you to exceed the average return on invested capital for your industry. And the courage to do that is what you're talking about. So it absolutely resonates with me, yes. And look, when we're working with entrepreneurs, one of the first and hardest conversations is when there's a leadership team that's established where they're either not all A players, or there are some toxic A's or some problem people in there, and then the speed to results is directly connected to how quickly can we surround ourselves with A players, and it's a very tough emotional decision for the entrepreneur. Yeah. Why do you think they get stuck?
Why? I will say that sometimes I think they don't have the tools, and this is where I love when I see book like yours, you know, like onboarding, you know. I think they don't take the decision. So I will say the main thing is they are driven by, you know, the purpose of the company, but they don't put the same amount of energy in the company and product that they develop that they put in their people.
Yeah.
But when they take the time to put the energy in their people and have the right tools, like your onboarding book, the last book, you know, I used last year, all year, and it's amazing, the top grading, you know, all these kind of tools, we can, you know, take action because it's more an evidence for them, and they know what they have to do. So I think maybe it's a lack of education, probably, or you know, both of it. Yeah.
It's their heart's in it, and I think the other thing is that a lot of the entrepreneurs that I've worked with over the years, they see the best in people, and they genuinely hope that the people will get better, and they try to give them every opportunity to get better. But when they either can't or don't want to get better, they're stuck with the results, right? and then they come back to, I hope they'll get better.
But do you agree that the real entrepreneur that scale up their business, really scale up their business, they have zero tolerance on the bad behaviors in their company?
Yes. But they often go through a journey to get to the point where they say, never again. Never again am I going to do that. Business coaching is a very broad and very loose term. Like me, you've worked at the top levels of business coaching for mid-market companies, and we've both been heavily involved in Gazelle's Scaling Up and Metronome 3HAG as coaching organisations. One of the problems that I see is that marketing companies pitch every coach that they take on as a client, in any organisation or not, anyone who basically labels themselves as a coach as being amazing. And sometimes it's just not true. They just pumped up by marketing. Some of the systems claim that the system is everything and the coach is less important. But in my experience, a great coach can be amazing with any system. So in your wisdom, in your thoughts, Cléo, how can clients navigate this issue to reliably find a good coach?
Actually, that's a good question because, I'm sure you feel it, Brad. 10 years ago, it was completely different, but now you can find a coach at every corner, and there is no more credibility and notoriety related to that. And like you and I, you were doing this for the last 20 years, and we involve and we translate book, and you can see, successful in 3 months, successful coach. But when you go behind, there is nothing there. There is no tools. There is, because I did my research, I've been part of a group of coaching, and I was like, okay, why they are so successful? I'm doing this for 15 years and I'm not able, to do this amount of money. And I was like, okay, but you know what? To be truly honest, there is different type of coach, and I think the type of coach that we work with a very niche people that they are really at the very high level and they want to go to the next level. So we're not working, with everybody. So, and I think that percentage of entrepreneurs that really want to invest in their team, in their self, they are open to change. They really want to make the effort, has the courage to the courage to change. We don't find this at the corner of every street like us.
How though? That's a good answer, but I'm going to just scratch a little bit further. If you were a client, knowing what you know, like how can a client, what process could a client use, or how can a client find a good coach in this sea of so many, and many of them have marketing. Now we know there's some amazing coaches out there, and also there's some that are not good at all. What do you recommend?
For a client who's looking for a coach, I think it's to have a through conversation with the coach and ask him, business case, success stories, and just, drop all the challenge that you have in your company and see, what is the recommendation of the coach. And if he's asking you the right question, because a good coach will ask the right question. It's not about himself. It's not about ourselves, it's always about the client. And I'm not there, with the client to do a show and to be better. I just want to be there to help. So make sure that you have this connection and feeling that the coach will be really there for you and help you. And I think that that's the real success that, we're doing this for 15 years and that's part of our successes. I'm truly there for my clients. So have this conversation with the coach. Let the team meet the coach also before you start a journey with a coach, just to make sure that everybody fits, and there is a connection. And sometimes there is a fit and sometimes there is no fit, but the importance of asking the right question on our part and make them shine, that for me, that's the true recipe of a win-win situation.
Yeah. Would you like to say, I think it was actually Bill Campbell who I'm copying when I say that, the $1 trillion coach for Apple and Google.
Yeah.
Great. And that was Steve Jobs who said it about Bill. A great coach lies awake at night thinking about you, and there's almost no, you as the entrepreneur, there's almost no other situation where that happens. Thank you for sharing there. So as someone who's got an engineering background, can you share how you empathize with entrepreneurs in an engineering or technology business to help them humanize their business journey? Because, and I ask this question because very much the theme of your practice and who you are is about humanizing the journey. And as I kind of alluded to at the beginning of the conversation, you have a background as a scientist and in engineering type fields. And this seems like either this is what you were always meant to do and you just figured it out, or you've gone on a journey to get to there. So how are you helping people to humanize their journey, given that background? Tell us, if you will, about that.
Yeah. So to be honest, all my family was a doctor. My sister, she's a doctor. My father was a doctor. My grandfather was a doctor. So that was, I want to help people and be a doctor and become a doctor. But I was not, don't have enough good grades, and I party a lot, in microbiology, the bag that I did before. So I end up to be an engineer. And after I worked for 10 years in a pharmaceutical company, and I become a Lean Six Sigma coach. And I realized at that time, when you do the continuous improvement of the business process in a company, you need the input, the success, and to maintain, the change. It's all about connection with human people.
Yeah.
So by doing, this on the engineering side of continuous improvement, I realized that, the human was at the essence of at every change, and the leadership window, it's based on connection plus challenge will create the change. So this is where I think I was always, interested by the human, but this is where I see a difference. And I will do, in June, I will do my 100 episodes of podcasts. Mm-hmm. And by doing, 100, I realized that it's all about connecting with human, respect the human, be authentic, be humble, be vulnerable, and go through the journey with the right people, and you're going to scale up your business. So it's so simple, So this is where, for me, to humanize hypergrowth, this is where I position myself, because it's all about people. And I see it's all the difference. Yeah.
I remember Vern Harnish saying many years ago, a company is just people doing stuff. And it's true. Yeah. It's true. A company, it's just people doing stuff. The stuff matters, but the people matter. And we've got to make sure, again, we've got the right people doing the right things and so forth. And so at the moment, I'm writing a book about building a better business. So what do you think that a better business looks like for you and most people you deal with? How would you describe a better business?
Like a business, like when you say, I just want to make sure that I understand the question properly. The better business is like the great business, like Jim Collins a bit, or what do you want to mean by better business?
Well, some people seek a bigger business and they're like, I want a bigger business, but it might not be a better business. So essentially what I'm saying is bigger isn't better, better is better. And so it's not saying don't don't go for growth by any means, but what it's saying, go for a good business, go for a better business. And
Business, yeah.
So if you think about that, what does a better business look like to you?
Yeah, I understand better now. I would say, I start this podcast by saying that, been through that journey of cancer, I finally discover, I'm becoming the better version of myself by, connecting to the real things that matters to me. So I will do the parallel with the business. So I think a better business for me, it's where you are able to connect to your real DNA, and you are able to understand the trend, and but never disconnect. So a better business is really to follow your DNA, but to adapt to the new reality. Because I think, and to take the word of Warren Reston, who did I did the with Metronomics last week. He said, narrow your focus, up your quality, and make sure you speed up, So I think it's the better business is really that. It's understand the meaning why we're here, but after that, make sure you are able to speed up your quality, and focus on what you're good at.
That's awesome. Thank you. Is there a book that you would recommend for our audience beyond the books that we've already mentioned?
So I mentioned your book, Onboarding, but I would say one book that I'm loving right now, and I'm going to take the plane tomorrow to go and see Chip Conley. I'm going to do a workshop with him, and its last book is Learn to Love the Midlife. So what I expect and why I envision, and I say, I'm becoming the better version of myself. It's I want, because I'm going to turn, 50 in 2 years. And I want that my next 50 years will be better than my first 50. And I want to work on that. So that will be my book. That's my book that I love. And I'm going to do this training with Chip and in Bahia, California. So it's going to be amazing. And that will be my recommendation. If we want to change, the way we are, and this, especially the mindset that the 50 years more that we have to live will be better.
That's fantastic. And that book by Chip Conley again, can you say that again, please? We'll put that in the show notes.
Learning to Love the Midlife.
Oh, that's probably quite appropriate for our audience. Excellent, thank you. How can people learn more about you and your business?
So for sure, if you go on my website, hypergrowth.com, you can find all the information. But like you said, I'm working in a French-speaking world because there is so much amazing, coach that speak English. So if you are interested in all the French world of what Brad is doing, about, helping entrepreneur grow, you can find me on LinkedIn also. So, and all the platform, Instagram, Facebook, and at Hypercroissance. So that's mainly where you can find me.
Yes. When I say it with an Australian accent, it sounds like fast pastry, hyper croissants. So you say it much better than I do. Thank you. So what haven't we discussed that you wanted to cover today?
I would say the one main thing, and maybe you agree with me, to take your word, if we want to become better, you have to go back to the basic and simplify. Yeah. I love that. If you want to become better, you got to go back to the basics and simplify. Well, Cléo, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom today. It's been a fantastic chat, and thank you for sharing all about your journey. It's been so nice to have you here. Thank you very much for everything, and I hope to see you soon in person. Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the episode as much as I did. If you'd be kind enough to leave a review for the podcast, that'd be really helpful to other like-minded entrepreneurs, and then we can grow our community. If you want to find out more about our guests, head over to evolutionpartners.com.au/podcast, where you can find show notes and other additional reading. Hope to see you back next week. Until then, keep thriving.